Imagine this: the sky darkens as ominous clouds gather overhead. Terrified people scramble desperately, searching for shelter, their cries echoing across the land. But no refuge they find could possibly withstand what approaches. On the horizon looms a catastrophe unlike any before, a tremendous hurricane, piercing through darkness itself. The heavens open, releasing torrents of water that consume everything in their path. Even mighty mountains and ancient trees surrender to nature's fury, disappearing beneath the rising waters. Yet, amid this apocalyptic chaos, floats a single vessel, remarkably untouched by the devastation surrounding it, as if protected by an invisible shield. This magnificent ark sails steadily through mountainous waves, carrying within it the future of countless species. This is no coincidence or stroke of luck. The same divine power that unleashed this cleansing flood upon a corrupt world commanded his prophet to construct this sanctuary, and now guides it safely through the tempest. This ark represents humanity's last hope, a promise of renewal and rebirth emerging from destruction. This is the legendary vessel of Prophet Noah. Few stories have captured human imagination across cultures and centuries like this one. It appears in ancient texts, religious scriptures, and countless artistic works throughout history. But while many assume this narrative is universally understood, significant differences exist between the Islamic and Christian traditions. Today we'll explore this extraordinary tale through both Quranic and biblical perspectives, comparing their similarities and fascinating differences. What challenges did Noah face in his prophetic mission? What corruption warranted such divine intervention? How did this righteous man and his companions survive the greatest natural disaster in history? And what lessons emerge from the aftermath? Join me on this journey through one of humanity's most enduring stories. Noah was born in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Distinguished by his integrity and moral character, he lived among his people for generations. But the society surrounding him had fallen into darkness. The powerful oppressed the weak, immorality flourished openly, and hearts grew hardened with arrogance and cruelty. They crafted elaborate statues representing their ancestors and deceased leaders. What began as remembrance gradually transformed into reverence, then worship, until they completely forgot their true creator. Into this spiritually bankrupt society, Noah was sent as a divine messenger, a prophet tasked with calling people back to righteousness. Day after day, year after year, Noah warned his people about their transgressions. The Quran captures this struggle vividly, particularly in Surah Hud verse 59. We certainly sent Noah to his people, and he implored them, O my people, worship Allah alone. You have no deity worthy of worship besides him. Truly I fear for you the punishment of a catastrophic day. Noah desperately tried to awaken his community from spiritual slumber, yet their reactions ranged from dismissive arrogance to active hostility. Some simply plugged their ears when he approached, others hurled insults and accusations. You've strayed from our traditions, they claimed, intimidating him with harsh words and threats. They clung stubbornly to their false gods, proclaiming, we will never abandon our deities, we remain faithful to Wad Suwa Yaguth and Nasr. Convinced Noah sought personal gain, they rejected his message outright. His response remained unwavering. I ask nothing from you, my reward comes solely from the Lord of all worlds. Their attempts to discredit Noah grew increasingly desperate. They mocked both him and his followers, sneering, should we believe someone followed only by the lowest classes? Despite facing relentless persecution, Noah's compassion never wavered. He genuinely wished to protect them from impending punishment. Unfortunately, only a handful embraced his message, while opposition intensified daily. After centuries of tireless effort, Noah finally realized his people would never abandon their idolatry voluntarily. With a heavy heart, he made his final appeal, my Lord, my people have persistently denied me. Judge decisively between us, and save those who believe alongside me. Having endured generations of rejection and persecution, Noah now awaited divine judgment. How would the Creator respond? The Bible describes Noah's world in similarly bleak terms. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, who walked faithfully with God. But the earth had become corrupt and filled with violence. God observed how thoroughly corrupted the earth had become, for humanity had corrupted their ways entirely. The Lord saw how great human wickedness had become. Every inclination of human hearts was continuously evil. The Lord regretted creating human beings and was deeply troubled by what he witnessed. Interestingly, the Bible suggests this corruption stemmed from supernatural origins. When humans multiplied on earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that human women were beautiful and married whomever they chose. These unnatural unions supposedly accelerated humanity's moral decline, producing powerful oppressors. In response, the Bible states, "The Lord declared, I will wipe humanity whom I created from the earth, along with animals, birds, and creatures that move along the ground, for I regret making them." This portrayal reveals a crucial theological difference between traditions. The Quran never attributes regret, uncertainty, or emotional reactions to God, as such characteristics would imply imperfection. Islamic theology maintains that Allah possesses perfect knowledge of past, present, and future, making divine regret conceptually impossible. Eventually, divine judgment was pronounced. According to the Quran, Allah told Noah, "No more from your community will believe beyond those who already have, so do not despair over their persistent rejection. Construct the ark under our guidance and instruction. Do not plead for the wrongdoers, their fate is sealed, they shall drown." The Bible presents God's instructions differently. Construct an ark of cypress wood, create compartments, and seal it with pitch inside, and outbuild it 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. After providing detailed specifications, the biblical account continues, "I am bringing floodwaters upon the earth to destroy all life under heaven. Everything on earth will perish, but I establish my covenant with you. You shall enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives." This reveals another distinction. While Christian tradition indicates only Noah's immediate family would be saved, Islamic tradition suggests all believers would board the ark, though not all of Noah's family qualified, which would cause him tremendous heartache. When Noah began constructing this massive vessel on dry land, he became an object of ridicule. Idolaters passing by would mock, "Look, the prophet has become a carpenter building a ship where no water exists. How will it ever sail?" Indeed, no sea surrounded Noah's construction site, raising logical questions about the vessel's purpose. But Noah remained focused on his divine mission. Ignoring their taunts, he understood that the Almighty, possessing unlimited power, could accomplish anything promised. Construction continued steadily despite growing ridicule. The Quran describes the moment of truth. "When our command came and waters erupted from the earth, we instructed, load upon the ark pairs of every creature, your family, except those already condemned, and whoever has believed," but sadly few had embraced belief. Similar instructions appear in the Bible, though with a notable inconsistency. Genesis initially states, "Bring aboard 2 of every living creature, male and female." However, chapter 7 modifies, "This takes 7 pairs of every clean animal, male and female, but only 1 pair of unclean animals. Also takes 7 pairs of every bird to preserve their kinds throughout the earth." This discrepancy, one passage specifying single pairs, another requiring 7 pairs of certain creatures, represents one of several contradictions that differentiate the accounts. Following divine instructions meticulously, Noah prepared for the coming deluge. According to biblical chronology, Noah was 600 years old when underground waters burst forth, though the Quran indicates he had prophesied among his people for 950 years by this point. Genesis precisely dates this cataclysm. On the 17th day of the 2nd month, all the springs of the great deep erupted, and the floodgates of heaven opened as believers and animal pairs boarded the ark. Dark clouds gathered, bringing unprecedented rainfall. The waters rose swiftly, lifting the previously land-bound vessel. Those who had mocked and rejected Noah suddenly realized with horrifying clarity they faced divine retribution. Desperately seeking escape, they found none. Water poured from the heavens as if the sky itself had ruptured, while springs erupted violently from below. This overwhelming deluge descended upon a society that had persecuted God's messenger for generations. People who had stubbornly refused divine guidance, their fate would become a powerful cautionary tale for future generations. One of the most heart-wrenching moments in the Quranic account concerns Noah's son. While biblical narratives suggest all Noah's sons boarded the ark, the Quran reveals one son rejected his father's message and refused salvation. Though unnamed in Islamic tradition, this poignant exchange captures a prophet's anguish as father. As the ark sailed through mountainous waves, Noah called desperately to his son who stood apart, "My beloved son, board with us, do not remain among disbelievers." But he replied defiantly, "I'll seek refuge on some mountain that will protect me from these waters." Noah responded sorrowfully, "Today, nothing protects against God's decree except through his mercy." Then massive waves separated them forever, and his son perished among the drowned. Consider a father's heartbreak in this moment. Notice Noah doesn't simply call "my son," but "my beloved son," revealing his deep affection despite his child's rejection. After enduring centuries of persecution and hardship, Noah now witnesses his own son's defiance before watching him disappear beneath the waters, truly devastating for any parent, even a prophet. As violent storms intensified, the divinely protected vessel withstood enormous waves. Despite physical exhaustion and emotional trauma, during this prolonged ordeal, the believer's faith provided strength to endure. Each day aboard the rocking ark tested their resilience, yet they persevered through divine grace. Finally, after what seemed an eternity, skies began to clear and floodwaters gradually receded. The Quran describes this moment with poetic beauty. It was proclaimed, "O earth, swallow your waters, O sky, cease your rain." The waters subsided, divine judgment was fulfilled, and the ark settled upon Mount Judy. Then came the declaration, "Away with those who practiced wrongdoing." The Bible offers its own chronology. The waters receded steadily from the earth. After 150 days, the water had diminished sufficiently that on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. An interesting question emerges: did this catastrophic flood cover the entire planet or affect only a specific region? While biblical accounts explicitly describe a global deluge, the Quran leaves this ambiguous. Some scholars interpret it as worldwide, others as regional. When considering the Creator's unlimited power, however, the flood scope becomes secondary. Affecting either a region or the entire world would be equally simple for the Almighty. More significant are the moral lessons this narrative conveys across traditions. The aftermath reveals further theological differences. According to Genesis, Noah built an altar and, taking clean animals and birds, offered burnt sacrifices. The Lord smelled this pleasing aroma and declared in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans." Though every inclination of the human heart remains evil from childhood, never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. This passage presents problematic implications when connected with earlier verses. Previously, Genesis suggested God regretted creating humanity and decided to destroy them. Here, it appears God acted impulsively in anger, but was placated by sacrificial aromas, leading to divine second thoughts. Such characteristics, regret, impulsive action, reconsidering decisions, seem incompatible with perfect divine nature. Even more troubling is Genesis chapter 9. Noah, a man of the soil, planted a vineyard. When he drank wine, he became intoxicated and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, Canaan's father, saw his father's nakedness and told his brothers Shem and Japheth, took a garment, walked backward with faces averted, and covered their father's exposed body. The passage continues: when Noah woke and discovered what his youngest son had done, he declared, "Cursed be Canaan. The lowest of slaves shall he be to his brothers." He added, "Blessed be the Lord God of Shem. May Canaan be Shem's slave. May God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth dwell in Shem's tents with Canaan as their slave." This narrative raises serious concerns. First, it attributes inappropriate behaviors, drunkenness, and subsequent exposure to a prophet meant to exemplify righteousness. Second, while Ham apparently committed the supposed offense of witnessing his father's condition, the curse strangely falls upon Ham's innocent son Canaan, contradicting principles of individual responsibility. Most disturbing, this passage was historically misappropriated to justify racial subjugation. From the 15th century onward, European colonizers linked this curse of Ham to dark skin, using it to rationalize enslaving Africans. Portuguese historian Gomes de Gerara wrote that enslaved Africans suffered their condition because of the curse which after the deluge Noah laid upon his son Ham, that his race should be subjected to all other races. Even Alexander Crummell, an African-American pastor and Cambridge-educated scholar, noted in 1862 almost universal opinion throughout Christendom, maintained that black suffering and enslavement resulted directly from Noah's curse, while modern theologians correctly identify this as misinterpretation not explicitly stated in the text, and we cannot judge religions by their followers' misapplications. What matters ultimately is what sacred texts actually contain and how they portray divine and prophetic figures. Islamic tradition categorically rejects such portrayals of prophets. The Quranic narrative preserves the dignity and moral integrity of all prophets, presenting them as exemplary models worthy of emulation. Similarly, Islam cannot accept scripture containing contradictions or attributing imperfections to the divine. The biblical flood account contains several inconsistencies, like the varying numbers of animals, and portrays God experiencing regret, inability to foresee consequences, uncontrolled anger, and subsequent remorse. Such descriptions contradict the perfect divine nature that transcends all limitations. The Quran presents its narrative coherently, without contradictions or inappropriate attributions, describing Allah in a manner befitting divine perfection and majesty. Examining these comparisons thoughtfully, we might conclude that the Quran corrects narratives that acquired inaccuracies over centuries of transmission, presenting them in their authentic form. Similarly, the Quran clarified misconceptions about Jesus, affirming his status as one of God's greatest prophets rather than divine incarnation. All passengers on this vast vessel called Earth, navigating through the infinite expanse of space. Throughout history, prophets like Noah have guided humanity's spiritual journey with Jesus among these distinguished messengers. When the pure teachings Jesus brought became distorted, humanity required final guidance. Considering these comparative analyses, doesn't it appear that Prophet Muhammad represents this concluding guide, with the Holy Quran serving as humanity's ultimate compass? This ancient story continues to offer profound insights into our shared spiritual heritage and divine purpose across the centuries.